Hello again, everybody. This is Ralph, and what I'm going to do here is a little longer presentation based on the tarot card, the Empress, and the teachings of Joseph Murphy. Joseph Murphy was a New Thought minister who worked in the early days of the 20th century, and he also worked with tarot to a certain extent in his career as a New Thought minister, a motivational speaker, and self-help speaker. So what we're going to do here in this video, talk about the 5 laws of manifestation based on the teachings of Joseph Murphy and the Empress card. Now, the Empress card stands for wealth, manifestation, abundance, taking things that you want to bring into your life and making them come into being. And the 5 laws of manifestation that a lot of people tend to overlook can help us to manifest the things in our life that we wish to manifest. And the first law here, I call this the law of assumption. And this goes to a basic tenet of the Empress card. English is kind of a funny language. There are some similarities in sound and sometimes in meaning between words that we normally don't connect one to another. The Empress is one of those. On one level, the Empress stands for a queen who is like the queen of queens, a very powerful woman who doesn't just rule over people, but she rules over other kingdoms within her empire. And she is like the queen that rules over other queens, the empress that has power over other kings and queens alike. And Empress can also be related to the word impress. Now, not directly related, but the meaning here is a relation to the meaning of the Empress card itself. And that is one principle of one of the laws of manifestation, the law of assumption. What we impress upon the back of our minds in our subconscious will later express itself into the outer world. Now, this is an important principle to keep in mind because it's one that is overlooked quite a bit in manifestation circles. A lot of times we'll hear about the law of attraction, but we won't hear about the law of assumption. And the problem is that if you're working on the law of attraction alone, and that you think through positive affirmations, you can change your mind, you can implant thoughts in your brain that will lead to greater success, and that's all you're working on, and you ignore the information that's already impressed in the back of your mind, in your subconscious, then what is going to happen is that you could have a war in your brain between the information that you're feeding into your brain and the stuff that's already impressed in your subconscious. You see, if you're trying to implant thoughts in your mind that say, I am abundant, I am skilled, I am lovable, I am good, I am powerful, I am transformative. You're trying to impress, those good thoughts in your mind. However, buried deep down subconsciously, you were raised with the belief that you are no good, or that you were no good, that you just never could measure up, that you'd have no skills, no talent, you're not lovable. If that information is buried in your subconscious mind, then what's going to happen is that the strongest thought in your mind is going to dominate. If the subconscious mind is dominant, and that message that you are no good is the dominant one in your mind, then as much as you try to implant new thoughts, like I am loving, I am lovable, I am powerful, I am wealthy. I am abundance. The subconscious mind is going to take over and just say, no, you're not. It's not what they told you when you were 5 years old. They told you you were no good. And that is the dominant thought in your mind. So, how can you overcome that negative programming that's buried in your subconscious and make way for the more positive programming that you're trying to put into your conscious mind? Well, one way, and this is a way that Joseph Murphy recommends, one way that you can do this is to lull yourself to sleep every night. Get into a very relaxed state of mind, and then just before you drift off to sleep, start repeating positive affirmations in your mind in that relaxed twilight state, because that is the state of mind that is actually more conducive to overwriting negative thoughts that have been impressed in the subconscious mind. So what Joseph Murphy would recommend is, just lull yourself to sleep with positive thoughts. Don't lay down in bed and start thinking about, okay, I can't pay the rent, or I've got this legal problem that we really, I don't know how we're going to face it, or I've got this problem or that problem, or nobody loves me, or whatever the situation may be. Do not lull yourself to sleep at night with any negative thought. Instead, replace it with something positive. You can replace it with something like the font of prosperity is with me always, or I have what I need to succeed, and I am going to succeed. Pick out the affirmations that really speak to you, and before you drift off to sleep at night, repeat those in your mind and feel the feeling of those positive thoughts coming to fruition. And that is one way that we can overcome the negative programming, is to just get into a relaxed state of mind, ideally right before you go to sleep or as you're waking up. As you're waking up, remember your positive affirmations and feed that stuff into your conscious mind and allow it to filter down into your subconscious. Now, another way that we can overcome negative programming in the subconscious mind is try to identify any positive programming that might also be there. And this is another thing that Joseph Murphy recommends in a lot of his writings. He will recommend that anything positive that you believe about God, anything positive that you believe spiritually, anything positive that was implanted in your brain as a child during Sunday school, remember that and bring it, strengthen it. If you're working on, say, abundance, and you don't really believe that you alone can do it, one thing that you can say to yourself that may not conflict with your already, subconscious programming is something like a Bible verse. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. If that's something that you were raised with, or something similar to something that you were raised with, repeat that to yourself at night before you go to sleep. I alone cannot do what I want to do in my life, but if I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, then suddenly it's not just me against the world anymore. It's me and my higher power. And for those not raised in a Christian tradition, you may have something very similar. I can do all things through the Buddha nature that is found within me. I can do all things through the divine source who dwells within me. I can do all things through wisdom, divine wisdom, which is both within me and outside of me. Whatever positive spiritual beliefs that you have already implanted in your subconscious mind, use those to overcome the negative programming in your subconscious, and that will help to bring you success a whole lot faster. So, again, if you believe in the back of your mind, I am not good enough to be earning like a 6-figure income or a 7-figure income, or I don't deserve love, or I don't deserve to be in a positive relationship. Sadly, there are a lot of people out there who were raised with that message, and it's planted in that subconscious mind. If you were also raised with some positive spirituality, use it. Say to yourself things like, I can do all things through the God source that lives within me and without me. Whatever you believe to be true in a positive sense about you and your higher power, you can absolutely put that to work for you to overcome the other negative stuff that may be impressed upon your subconscious mind. So, the law of assumption. We all have subconscious thoughts that have been implanted in our minds from an early age. Back before we could say or do anything to prevent it, parents, authority figures, school teachers, they loaded our minds with thoughts. Some good, some positive, some not so good, some very negative. And yeah, do some inner work through meditation. Try to identify the negative subconscious messages that are existing in your subconscious mind, and also try to find the positive ones and use the power of the positive ones to override the negative ones. And then, in a relaxed state of mind, try to root out those negative thoughts as well and replace them with more positive thoughts. Doing the latter is going to take longer normally, and doing the former, tuning into positive subconscious thoughts that are already there, is going to be a lot faster. But you can absolutely do both. You can absolutely strengthen the positive thoughts that are already there and overcome the negative thoughts too. It's a process, but it can be done. And the first step is recognizing the negative stuff that we all have buried in our subconscious. And that's important, because if all you do is focus on affirmations and you're saying to yourself all day, every day, for the next 20 years or so, I am good enough, and I am powerful, I am an awesome human being, but deep down you believe that you're trash, guess which thought's going to win out? You got to overcome that negative before the positive can begin to take root. And so, yeah, working on your affirmations when you're in a very relaxed, meditative state of mind, especially, before you go to sleep at night, can be powerful to overwrite that negative stuff. And when you first wake up in the morning, again, good time while you're still kind of in a relaxed state of mind, good time to be implanting more positive information into your subconscious. And yeah, eventually you will get there. Second law of a manifestation is the law of attraction. Now, we've all heard of this, but I think a lot of people have misunderstood what the law of attraction is. A lot of people tend to think of the law of attraction as, I will attract what I really want in my life. But actually, that's not the law of attraction. Jim Rohn put it this way: we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. And that's really how the law of attraction works. You don't necessarily attract what you want into your life, you attract what you are, your beliefs about yourself. If you are a positive person, if you are a disciplined person, you will tend to attract more positive, disciplined people into your life. If you're a negative person, then you're going to tend to attract more negativity into your life. And we can see this sometimes within ourselves, sometimes within the lives of others, we can see, people who are negative will tend to attract negative people, negative circumstances into their lives. People who tend to be more positive, they will attract more positive people, more positive outcomes and circumstances into their own lives. You attract what you are. And there is an excellent saying, I forget, was this Flanell? I forget, I'm going to have to look this guy's name up, but he did a lot of work back in the 50s about manifestation. But he said, in order to be, you first have to become. And before you can become, you first have to believe that you can get there. And this is the journey of the law of attraction. We don't just attract what we want, we attract what we are, and then in the future, we will begin to attract what we become. So we have to focus on becoming what we want to attract in our life. If you want to be a strong 6-figure earner, 7-figure earner, if you want to be radically successful, think about the person that you have to change into in order to make that happen. Can you be the kind of person who just wakes up in the morning, doesn't brush his hair, doesn't shave his face? If you're a lady, you don't have to shave your face. Shave something else, I don't know. But yeah, do you make your bed when you wake up in the morning, or do you just get out of bed, stumble into the kitchen, drink some coffee, get on a live stream, and that's pretty much the course of your day? Or do you have some discipline? What kind of disciplines would the future self, your future successful self, have? And then identify those disciplines, identify those practices, and start to incorporate those practices into your daily life. When you wake up in the morning, a good discipline to get into, make your bed. Jim Rohn once used this as an example of success. So if you want to become successful, don't ask me why, but just get up in the morning, brush your hair, shave your face, brush your teeth, make your bed, do all that stuff. And he said, don't ask me why, it just works. The reason why that works is that you're showing discipline. And a future successful version of yourself is going to have to adopt certain disciplines. If you want to be able to manage money, high finance, you first have to get comfortable around high finance. You have to develop the discipline of being able to manage money. So many people out there living paycheck to paycheck. And it doesn't really matter, sadly, whether your paycheck is like 3 figures big, 4 figures big, or 5 figures big. There are people who find a way to spend every last nickel and dime they earn on a monthly basis and more. And so, yeah, there are people out there, 7-figure earners, who are in debt because they spend more than what they earn. Would the successful version of yourself be a person that is not financially disciplined? Or would it be a person who is more financially disciplined? Pick out the feelings, the disciplines that your future self, your future successful self would exhibit. Start incorporating those things in your life right now. And one of the most important things is going to be confidence. Successful people tend to be very confident about themselves. If you lack confidence, that may be a growth issue that you need to work on. And that's where, again, positive affirmations can help. Just say to yourself every day, you may not believe in the back of your mind, in your subconscious mind, that you have all the strength and all the abilities to succeed. But one simple affirmation that you can use that can help grow you into the future successful self that you want to become is a simple affirmation that says, every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And just use something like that to strengthen you, to give yourself the belief that, you are getting better every day. Daily progress, not perfection. Nobody wants you to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be making some daily progress. And so, yeah, the law of attraction. Work on becoming what you want to attract in your life. If you want to attract positive relationships, work on becoming a more positive person. If you tend to be a a-hole and you want to attract somebody who's not an a-hole, work on becoming less and less of an a-hole every day. And that will, over time, have an effect that will result in better outcomes for yourself. But yeah, sadly, we do not attract what we want. We attract what and who we are. So if you want better in your life, you have to become better. And before you can become better, you have to believe that you can become better. It's where the law of assumption, law of attraction both work together there. That belief. How can you implant that belief in the back of your head and nurture it, and not be feeding the negative thoughts that are in the back of your head? So yeah, law of assumption, law of attraction. The third law is the law of alignment. This is where a lot of people will fall down, is that they think that, okay, all I have to do is think positive thoughts, think good thoughts, good things are going to happen to me. And that can be true to a certain extent. But there comes a time when you have to be taking aligned actions. And that's where the law of alignment comes in. First, you believe that you can do better. Then you work on the affirmations, telling yourself, I'm getting better and better every day. Then you have to take action based on those affirmations and beliefs. If you do not take aligned action, your life is probably not going to change a whole lot. Affirmations will only be wishful thinking. You do have to take aligned actions. And this can be done either on a conscious level or on a subconscious level. Joseph Murphy tells the story of a man that came up to him after one of his lectures, told him, I have this idea for a new invention. It can change the world that we live in. He explained to him what it was. He said, I have this brilliant idea. I know how to build this device. However, I need the money to build the prototype, and I need the money to mass produce it, and I need the financing and the backing to get it out into the stores. And after I do all this, I know that I can make a comfortable living and a sizable profit by marketing this new invention. And Joseph Murphy told the guy, okay, you've got this great new invention. Great. Think about that. Do not think about the obstacles. Never say to yourself, I don't have the money to build the prototype. I don't have the money to mass produce it. Instead, just think to yourself the beauty of your invention. Think about the feeling that you're going to have once this invention is built, once this invention is marketed, and believe that you are attracting into your life the people and the circumstances that you need in order to make this happen. In other words, think positively about what your invention is, and then trust in the universe that things are going to come into your life to make it possible. Synchronicities will begin to occur. And yes, he recommended to this man to do that, just to think about his invention, to visualize it being made, think about it being made, feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and just focus on the positive. And what happened in the life of this man is a few months later, he was attending another lecture given by Joseph Murphy. And in the hallway, people were chatting, during one of the intermissions. And this guy was talking about his invention to another gentleman who was at the lecture. And he said, I know that this can be a really important invention, a really life-changing invention for so many people. And he was telling this guy what his invention was. Turns out this other guy was a very successful, very wealthy businessman. He was intrigued with the idea of this invention. He told the guy, I can give you the financing to build the prototype. I can give you the financing to mass produce this. I can provide the connections to get this invention of yours in the stores. Come and see me tomorrow morning in my office. Let's work out the details. And he did. Subconsciously, this man was taking aligned actions. He was doing his positive thinking. He was doing his positive affirmations, things like that. And subconsciously, he was also doing the work of networking, going out there into the world. That time it was the real world. We didn't have the online back in those days, but he was out there in the real world telling people about his idea, just talking to people, whoever would listen. And he happened to have the right person in the right place at the right time who listened to him, and everything fell into place. Those synchronicities can happen. But first, we have to be willing to take action. And of course, this decision can be made on a conscious level. Like if you're an online marketer, you decide, okay, today I'm going to reach out and I'm going to talk to 5 people on Facebook. I'm going to tell them about my business, going to tell them about my ideas, going to make a video, and I'm going to get my information out there. Or it can be done subconsciously, like in the example that I just gave. But either way, aligned actions are going to have to follow after you deal with the negative programming in the back of your mind in your subconscious, after you do the law of attraction stuff, working on becoming the person that attracts better opportunities into their life. Then, with that kind of positive energy going on, you need to take aligned action. And then things can really start to fall into place. The 4th law here is what I call, and I've already spoken about this to a certain extent, but the law of appreciation, the law of gratitude. You do your affirmations, you work on your subconscious belief system, you take aligned actions, and then you just feel the gratitude. You know that the universe is working for you rather than against you, and you just give thanks every night before you go to sleep. Don't think about your problems. Think about your gratitude list. I had a sponsor in AA 25 years ago. Man, it's been a long time. But anyway, he always preached, make a gratitude list. When things are going badly for you, make a gratitude list, and just before you go to bed at night, feel grateful for the good things that you have in your life. Focus on the good. But yeah, feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel the feeling of thanksgiving for the good things that are already in your life, as well as the good things to come, and the things that you want to manifest in your life. Feel the feeling as if you already have it, and give thanks to the higher power of your understanding. And let that lull you to sleep every night. Never think about your problems. Think about your opportunities. Think about the positive things. Imagine yourself as clearly as possible in the position of being your future self and having attained all of your goals, and give thanks for that accomplishment, even though it hasn't happened to you yet. Tell your subconscious mind it has happened, Be grateful for it. Feel the feeling. You know, if your goal is to have like a 7-figure income, how would you feel if you opened up your banking app, saw $1 million in that bank account? What would be the feeling? Focus on that feeling as if it is happening right now, and let that impress itself into your subconscious mind. But yeah, the law of appreciation. Show gratitude for what you have and what you are bringing into your life. Even be grateful for the things that haven't come to fruition yet. Just tell yourself, okay, they're coming. Or better yet, don't say they're coming. Convince yourself they're here, because actually they are. If it exists in your imagination, then it does exist. Your imagination is something. It's not just an imaginary thing that we think of, you know. In a way, yes, your imagination is imaginary, but the thoughts that are in your imagination, the thoughts that are in your subconscious mind, they are real. They have an effect. They have power. So yeah, if you can imagine it in your mind, in a way, they're already real, even if it hasn't translated into your outer world yet. And so yeah, give thanks. Make sure that you're bringing in the positive things into your imagination. And this is where not watching a whole lot of horror movies and slasher movies and taking in a lot of negative news and negative social media. That's so easy to do these days. But focus on the good things too. Try to ignore as much as possible all the negative stuff that's out there. Focus on the positive. Give thanks and appreciation for the positive as if it already is. Because again, if it's in your imagination, on a certain level, it already is. May only be in the imagination, but your imagination is something. It's something real, something that you can work with, something that's far more powerful than most people realize. Joseph Murphy called the imagination the God within. Now that's something to think about. Atheists will say God is in your imagination, not knowing that they're actually in agreement with Joseph Murphy. Joseph Murphy would say, yeah, God is your imagination, and your imagination is very real and very powerful and very potent. Work with it. Do not dismiss it. So yeah, that's the law of appreciation. And then the final law. And this is a difficult one. Again, they're all important, but this is one that is pretty darn important. But the law of acceptance. I also call it the law of non-attachment. And this is, okay, you've worked on your subconscious mind. You've done the inner work. You've identified the negative stuff that's in your brain and the positive stuff that's in your subconscious, and you're doing your affirmations. You're taking aligned actions. You're showing gratitude to the universe. You're imagining yourself being successful in what it is that you want to accomplish in your life. And then you get to the point where you're taking actions, and you think that if you don't get this job, everything's going to fall apart. Or if you don't win this game, if you're an athlete, if you don't win this game, everything's going to fall apart. If you don't get this loan, your business cannot thrive, you know. The law of acceptance tells us to take action, but don't be attached to the outcome. Accept whatever outcomes come to you, even the negative ones, believing that divine intelligence, infinite intelligence, one name that Joseph Murphy had for the divine, having the faith that infinite intelligence is going to take things as they are and will still deliver for you. And I've heard this expressed in other ways. people that think, they need to get a sizable business loan in order to advance their business. And they get turned down for that loan. One temptation would be to give up. Like, I did my positive thinking, I did my law of assumption, I did everything that guy with the funny facial hair told me on social media, and gosh darn it, it just didn't work out, and he's just full of it, man. Yeah, you can take that attitude, or you can have the attitude that, okay, what I wanted to happen didn't happen, but I trust that infinite intelligence is going to bring me something even better. I had this experience in my own life. Whew, gosh, 40 some years ago? It's been a while. But anyway, I was fresh out of seminary at that time, wanting to get into the religious education field. And there was this one guy that worked in a church. He was the senior pastor, the priest of that church at that time. And he wanted to interview me to be the religious studies director, director of religious education for the parish. And I went in for the interview. I thought I'm pretty well qualified for it, maybe not perfectly qualified, but I do have a lot of the qualifications. I went down to the church. I immediately fell in love with the church. It was a brand new, modern church. The head priest there, the senior pastor, was a very nice guy, kind of an older guy. Reminded me of some other, positive people that I've had in my life in the past. And he interviewed me, and I could tell that he wasn't really too impressed by some of my answers because I was rather inexperienced, fresh out of seminary and all that. Didn't have a whole lot of real life experience. But I mean, I kind of had a very positive feeling. And I don't know what it was, but as I was walking through that church, I just had this very strong feeling. I am going to be working here. And I am going to be working here soon. And as the priest was, after the interview, took me for a tour of the facility. He loved showing off his church. I mean, it was a big, beautiful place. Had the church at the top, the church office at the top. The basement was the Catholic school that was underneath it, and the religious studies offices and all that. And man, he was just showing me around the computer systems, everything. And I was just super impressed. And I mean, I thanked him for his time. I said, I look forward to hearing back from you in the future. And I just had the feeling when I was there and after I left, I am going to work in that church soon. A few days later, I get this letter in the mail. It was really one of the best rejection letters I've ever received from that priest saying, Ralph, I was impressed with you during the interview. However, I am sad to say I don't feel that you are the strongest candidate for the job. But I do appreciate your time, and I look forward to, networking with you sometime in the future. And I mean, that's the way he put it. So in a way, I was turned down for the job, which kind of dashed me in a way. But it left open that door that, yeah, I'm going to be networking with this guy sometime in the future. And I still felt in my feelings, in my heart, that I had a future in that church. 2 weeks later, I get this phone call from out of the blue. It's that priest. And he said, I know I turned you down for the director of religious education position, but I just have another position that just opened up. I think you would be perfect for it. Would you like to become my new religious youth ministry director? Working with youth religion rather than the adult religion. And so I said, yeah, I didn't know anything about it, but he thought I'd be perfectly qualified. So I said, yeah, I would be happy to. And yeah, it was really one of the best jobs that I ever had in my early 20s in my early life. And yeah, I learned a lot in that position. But from that, I learned to trust my feelings. And I also learned that when the universe tells you no to one course of action, it's not turning you down and saying, okay, you're not good enough, you're not qualified enough, your dreams are never going to happen. It's just saying, okay, that one pathway has been closed down. Another pathway, though, can and will open up. So that's what happens when we have a feeling of non attachment according to the law of acceptance. It's that we accept everything that happens to us. We do what needs to be done anyway, totally unattached to the outcomes. The Bhagavad Gita has rather a difficult saying in it that I now understand on a much more deeper level. But the saying is, you have the right to work. You do not have the right to the fruits of your labor. And that is the law of non-attachment, of acceptance. Do your duty, do your work, do what needs to be done, but do it in a way in which you are trusting the process. You're trusting the process. If things don't work out in one direction, trust that things are going to work out in another way, in another direction. Trust that if you don't get what you want, your first choice, that somewhere down the line there's going to be something even better that's going to open up. You may not be qualified for the first job that you applied for, but you may be overly qualified for another job that you didn't even apply for, but which somebody might call you up just out of the blue and say, I've got this opening. I think you'd be the right person to fill it. So would you come on in? We can talk. If you want the job, it's yours. Things like that have happened. So yeah, the law of acceptance. Don't be addicted to the outcomes, but definitely do the work. Do what needs to be done. Allow the universe to work everything else out in its due course. But yeah, don't think that just because you get turned down for one job, that that's the end of your dream. Or just because you get turned down for a loan, that that's the end of your business. Maybe you don't qualify for a loan. Maybe there's a grant out there that you could qualify for. And which is better, a loan that you have to pay back or a grant that's yours to keep? The universe has a way of working things out, oftentimes in ways that we can't see. Our viewpoint is limited. Our viewpoint is finite. The universe is infinite. Your higher power, your imagination, the infinite intelligence, however you want to understand it, is infinite. It's an intelligence that sees into infinity and can work with the known and the unknown alike. So yeah, trust that infinite intelligence. Trust your higher power. And just let things take their course. You do what you need to do. Let the higher power take care of the rest. And trust the process. Okay, so those are the 5 laws of manifestation. Again, the law of assumption. What you assume to be true in your subconscious will express itself in your outer world. Law of attraction. You attract who you are, not just what you want. The law of alignment. Taking aligned action at the right time and doing it either consciously, subconsciously, ideally both. The law of appreciation. Feel gratitude, both for the things that you have now and the future things that you are attracting into your life. Feel gratitude as if those things are already gifted to you. And then the law of acceptance. Don't be attached to the outcome. Do your duty, do what needs to be done, and let go. Let the universe, let infinite intelligence do the rest. So that's it in a nutshell. All right. Hope you found some value in this. This is Ralph signing out. And yeah, if you would like to book a tarot reading, either with me or my wife, consultation by phone, I do them in English. My wife does them in Spanish. Let me know, DM me. You can go to my link in bio over on my main page. And yeah, we charge by the half hour, $50 for 30 minutes, $100 for an hour, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you like to book a reading, be more than happy to connect on that level too. So again, Ralph signing out. Have a great day. Have a beautiful weekend ahead. Talk soon. Bye bye.